Anthony Gustav was a typical German teenager living in the 1930s, but little did he know his whole life would change due to his religion. Increased anti-Semitism drove many Jewish families out of Germany, but the Gustavs, being the indifferent family that they were, thought it was just stupid people doing stupid things. The Gustavs saw the best in people. They didn't see them as things, they saw them as people who had just been raised the wrong way. Unfortunately, this was not the case in 1930s Germany. Propaganda of the 1930s and 40s created a huge wave of hate against the Jews. Propaganda such as the poisonous mushroom not only caused adults to hate Jews, but children as well. The hate that children felt due to the brainwashing led to the Hitler Youth. Hitler Youth ruined the Gustavs' very streets. Anthony had been beaten up multiple times by people he used to be friends with. He was not allowed to sit on park benches anymore. He no longer had rights. He and his family were nothing but the dirt under people's shoes. Anthony decided it was time to take action, but there was no time left. Anthony and his family were forced from their home, and their whole world seemed to be flipped upside down within days. The Gustavs were forced out of their home and had to wear a yellow star that read, Jew. After being forced from their home, they began their march on the ghetto. Jews were forced into small apartment-like rooms where whole families would share one bed and live on extremely low rations of food. Life in the ghetto was extremely difficult. Anthony and his family barely have enough food and supplies to survive. People were dying constantly of extreme starvation and being beaten to death by Gestapo officers. Family members were left dead on the street, and people just walked by and stared in fear. Many months later, the Nazis raided the ghetto, and Anthony's parents were taken while he and his sister hid in the secret compartment underneath their home. He was left to care for his sister, not knowing if he would ever see his parents again. Once the Nazis cleared the ghetto of the Jews, Anthony and his sister Julia knew that they were alone. No one was there to help them, no one could be trusted. Every day was a struggle to survive in the world they knew. After nearly a year of hiding, food in the ghetto began to get harder to find, and winter was approaching Poland fast. This is when Anthony realized he had to get him and his sister out of the ghetto. But due to constant patrols, they would have to go in the dead of night with only the clothes on their backs in order to survive. Anthony and his sister were spotted, and they were arrested. Anthony and his sister were put on a train with at least 1,000 people in one car, not knowing where they were going. The train ride was miserable. There was nowhere to sit, and people were crying all around them. The journey seemed to take days, yet it was only a couple of hours. Once reaching the camp, Anthony came to the realization that his parents were probably dead, and that he and his sister weren't going to make it either. All hope seemed to be lost when the large train car was being unloaded. Anthony was selected to work in the camps, and his sister sneaked away and seemed to go unnoticed. She slowly made her way to the woods and disappeared into the distance. That was the last time Anthony ever saw his sister, and at that moment, he felt the most alone he had ever felt in his entire life. He had no one to look to for love or comfort. They were gone. Life in the camps was unbearable. Anthony, being 16 at the time, was working 18-hour days, performing back-breaking labor. He was crammed into horse stables where there were 1,200 men and 5 to a bunk. Rations were also very little. For a day's work, Anthony would receive a piece of bread no thicker than his thumb, and a piece of butter no larger than a piece of gum. Within 1 month, Anthony went from being a 155-pound and somewhat healthy teenager to a 95-pound weak and skinny man. Anthony had seen unspeakable horrors while working in the camps. He saw women and children being shot. He saw men being beaten to death. Anthony had an idea of what hell would be like. This was worse than he could imagine. Anthony had lost all hope and welcomed death with open arms. He continued to work as hard as he could to avoid death and continue to drop weight. This continued for months until news of the Allies moving toward Poland hit the camp. This gave Anthony hope and gave him the drive to make it through. Nothing was going to stop him. Not after he came this far alive. In the spring of 1945, the British military liberated Anthony and thousands of prisoners from their camps. Anthony dropped to his knees with joy because he knew it was over. All that he had hoped for had come true. He was safe and Germany had surrendered. No one could hurt him anymore. He was free.